there were 22 of us, and 10 of us got all the way to the top.
A growing health, wellness, and leadership podcast designed for you to become your most empowered self.
Great day, amazing humans. Welcome to the Empowered in My Skin podcast, where our mission is to help 1 billion people in this world think in more empowering ways. Empowered humans empower humans. So you are the right spot to become a lead domino for empowerment today. So let the show begin. Great day, amazing humans. Yes, welcome to episode 316. It is also the first episode of season 7, and it is also an episode that I'm doing with a extremely special woman in my life. And it's also International Women's Month, and Saturday is also International Women's Day. Like, it is like
There's a lot.
There's a lot. There's a lot. There's a lot. There's a lot. And she's the type of woman that, you say, oh, you're too much, and be like, just go and get less. She is so much, and I love her for all her much. But anyway, just truly inspiring human, has, I want to say, about almost 20 years of friendship we've had, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Married life was good for that because it introduced me to her.
Thank you for that.
On
Yes,
many
it
fronts,
did.
married life is gifted me
Some good,
with.
not some bad, but that's okay. That's okay.
But in the life that she's living, she's really leaving a mark in her impact in communities. And I'm actually excited to learn more about that because we don't often sit down and just like talk to me about your job,
Yes.
So she has a wealth of experience in youth development, community partnerships, and support services, and has dedicated her career to fostering programs that empowers individuals and create meaningful change, from leading initiatives at regional municipalities of York to shaping youth programs in the city of Toronto. Her leadership has been instrumental in driving progress in public service. But that's not all, okay? Other than being a mom of like some really, really tall children.
Very tall children.
Very tall and aspiring like athletes and just brainiacs. We'll talk about them as well. She's also taken on an extraordinary personal challenge, which I have to admit, I think I might have said, I'm in.
I think you might have. And then I kind of just, in my usual fashion, just kind of, last minute entry.
But this is, and she talked me through it. I was like, I got to get you on. You're one of my greatest humans in my life. And it would be such an honor to have you open up season 7. And I was really inspired by the journey that she shared. It was a test of her resilience, endurance, and determination. So in October 2023, she embarked on what she's actually termed a life-changing journey to summit Mount Kilimanjaro. And so, yes, you can imagine when she said, I was like, oh, I'm in. Who wouldn't want to be in? But the question is, did you do it? And she did it. And it's totally reshaped her perspective and reinforced her commitment to growth and perseverance. So anyway, there's so much more, but it's time to just get this conversation started. So please join me in a huge, gigantic, you know how we do it. Welcome to Heather Tillock. Look, isn't she? Anyway, YouTubers, YouTubers are looking at her. Anyone that is watching or listening on Spotify or Apple, head over to YouTube. We'd love to see, see what we look like.
Absolutely. Yes.
We look fly.
Very fly. For a Friday afternoon, I'm thinking very fly.
That is right. Okay. So Heather, you just kind of put us on blast because I said 2 days to International Women's Day.
All right.
Right.
Yes.
But we're batching this. Okay. We
yes.
keep it really honest. We are batching this. We're not that far away from International Women's Day. It's on the horizon. It's about a week and something away. So, girlfriend.
Yes.
As a starting question I've asked every guest, I think actually it would be an amazing episode for me to actually just compile that. But what has been the most empowered thought that you've had of the day so far?
Today?
Yeah.
That is a good question. What is my most empowered thought? Ironically, I was having a conversation with a member of my team earlier around a particular challenge that we were having. And, I don't know if it was an empowered thought as much as an empowered question, but it was, what is getting in the way? How do we get to yes? You've given me lots of reasons why this has been a problem for you and you're having trouble solving it. So you got to articulate for me what's getting in the way. And after you've told me that, how do you think we can get to yes?
I love that. How do we get to yes?
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you.
I love that. I think
my little nugget for today.
I say what needs to be true.
Yes.
But I actually do like, how do we get to yes? Like, how do we get to a big yes? Yeah. I like that. I like that. Thank you.
It just forces everybody to approach said problem from a very different perspective. Right?
So here's another one for you. Okay. How do you describe yourself?
How do I describe myself? I describe myself as someone who's loyal, who's fiercely loyal, spontaneous. I tend to fly by the seat of my pants, but, truly want, like, I don't ever want to miss an opportunity. I want to, I know that saying's out there right now, we're living our best lives, but truly want to live my best life. Like, I know that this life is short. I don't want to age myself, but I'm in my 50s and starting to think about my legacy, right? And what am I leaving behind? And when people say, oh yeah, I knew Heather Tillock, what comes to mind for them, right? So really just truly living each day to the fullest. And I don't want to be a cliche there, but that's kind of.
I love it. I love it. So two questions come from me because, I agree with you. We often say I'm living my best, life. I've heard it. I think you said that to me recently, and someone also said it to me recently, and I think, transparently, it was in that moment, both of those moments. So it means I gotta have to do. I was like, oh, I want to too,
Yeah.
But I think everyone's best life is a personal definition.
Absolutely, 1,000%. What might be your best life might not be mine. So
right. So I'm going to ask you that in a second. But before that, I want to ask you, because I do believe legacy is not what you leave at the end. It is all the deposits that you make along the way.
1,000%.
Yeah. And so having you on here is because you have left some of those deposits in my life already. Yeah. And so you're already doing it. And if anything, it's such a blessing to be able to contribute to something that is going to last, so far as the podcast hosting site doesn't disappear. I have no control
over that. It'll never disappear. Haven't you heard? It's going to be, it'll exist forever.
But YouTube, right. So it's just, all I'm just trying to say is like contributing to that is why I do this, and to be able to, do that for you, to give you the platform, to give you a microphone, to share your wisdom, is truly something I'm grateful to be able to do.
Thank you. Well, I'm grateful to have the opportunity to do this and to do this with you.
Thank you. So what is it feel like to be living your best life in Heather's world?
What does it feel like? It feels like, when you're younger and, you write down all the things that you want to do with your life as you get older, when you become an adult, it is truly that list, that childhood list. And even although the childhood version of that is probably a bit immature and inexperienced to some extent, it is all the things that I really did want, even at 6 or 7 and 10 and 12 and 15, like all those things are coming to fruition now. And I feel like I'm being authentic to my childhood self. People do vision boards and some of these other things, and we keep reinventing ourselves. I don't know that I'm reinventing myself so much, but really just kind of
yourself.
Exactly. And in an authentic way. And that means a lot to me, because I think, all of us to some level are really guilty of like the image that we put out into the world. right? And I can
Mm-hmm.
appreciate, especially now with social media and all of these other things, why image is so important. Like our
Mm-hmm.
brand is who we are,
Mm-hmm.
right? But I feel like my brand is my authentic Heather.
Mm-hmm.
It is, take it or leave it. This is me.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel really good about that. I feel
Yeah.
good about that. So that's
And
that's
I
my
have seen
authentic.
you blossom, and I think more recently than not, and even just the quality of the conversations that we've had, like I do recognize I've always admired you for someone who I would say I felt has always stood in her truth, and
Yes,
it's inspired
yes,
me and empowered me. So yeah. Yeah. Pretty
yeah,
awesome. You're awesome. So your career is deeply rooted in community service. I mean, I think you've
yes,
been
it
doing it
is.
from really since I've known you and youth development, right? And like I
Yeah.
said, we've never, I know I've asked you, like, tell me a little bit about what you do, but I don't really know the pathway, the journey, um, and what lights you up about this work. So let's just, I know that's a lot. So, what made you pursue this path? And you there's been longevity in it. Like, what has that journey been, and why have you stayed the course?
So, we go back to that childhood list, right? My childhood Heather said that she wants to help people. I want to
Mm,
do something that's going to help people. I want to do something that's going to make people's lives better. And somehow that took me to, a psychology degree at the undergrad level and a master's degree in, my postgraduate life. And those two things combined have brought me into public service. And I also teach at Seneca College part time. So, in every way, all of those jobs, I feel like I'm helping people. And I know that when people think of municipal workers, municipal employees. I know there's lots of stuff there. And oh yeah, you're a public service employee. You're not really helping people. You're not making meaningful change. But we
mm-hmm,
are like, the reality is we have the structure of government. That's the structure that we have
mm,
available. And that's what makes the world work. So
mm-hmm,
who not better than people who are passionate, who truly want to make
mm-hmm,
a decision within those government structures, pushing the status quo, challenging the status quo,
mm-hmm,
forcing senior decision makers to do things
mm-hmm.
differently. That's where I get that's where I get some of my
Your
strength
raison
and
d'etre,
some of my
your meaning.
exactly. And
Yeah.
on the teaching side, watching my students, ask me questions, challenge me when light bulbs go off, when students who don't look like me, have a better understanding of diversity and adversity and what being an ally actually really means. So just having influencing
Mm-hmm.
their journeys and their lives and where they're going to go after they leave my classroom is pretty cool as well. So I think those two things together give me my oomph. I don't know if I did
What kind of
one of
professor?
them.
What kind of teacher are you?
Well, apparently I am the coolest teacher, and I have gotten, best dressed and most fashionable awards as well. Because, I gotta give it to Seneca. They've got, awards for different things. But what kind of teacher am I? I'm truly that teacher who says, you can ask me anything in my classroom. As long as you're respectful and considerate of the other people in the class, you can ask me anything. So I'm that teacher. Ask me anything. Let's talk about it. Challenge me. Yeah, let's learn together.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel like my classroom is, in many respects, I learn as much from my students as I
Mm-hmm.
hope they learn
Mm-hmm.
from me.
Hmm. And as you think about community service and even just coming out of like what we endured for 3 years called COVID,
Mm-hmm.
what are some of the like what keeps you, and I maybe you don't stay up, so don't mean literally, but what are the things that either cause you the greatest concern or you feel like are the things you need to lean in a lot on that just haven't moved as much as you would like to?
Well, I don't know if it's so much about community that, keeps me awake. I think a lot about what this world is going to look like for my children. Are they going to
Mm-hmm.
have those same, opportunities to be fulfilled? And, our world has changed so much. I mean, I just finished watching, and this is a bit of a departure, but I just finished watching Apple Cider Vinegar on Netflix. So I have lots of feelings about that. But I feel like our children live in this very, like, they are so consumed by social media and the number of likes and
Mhm.
the comments and, all of the stuff,
Mhm.
traction on your page, whatever. Again, I
Mhm.
go back to this whole brand, and the what you put out there into the world. But I feel like there's this whole generation of very, I'm not sure if artificial is the right word, but
Mhm.
I worry
Mhm.
about
Mhm.
their generation and their generations after them.
Right. And tell us a little bit about what you observe most about your two.
My
Maybe
two.
introduce them a little bit on the
They're
podcast.
very different children. So one is my daughter's almost 21, and my son is going to be turning 19 later this year, off to North Dakota for a football scholarship. So he's both of them are very fierce and very, like they've got these great leadership qualities, but they're quiet. So I think
Mm.
because I'm loud and
Wow,
I'm
they're your children?
gregarious and huh?
And they're your children?
But this is it, right? But I think they're a lot like me. It's just
Mhm.
quiet. Like my
Mhm.
husband is also a bit quieter. So I feel like they have the best of both of us.
Oh,
So they've
nice.
got my strength and,
Hmm.
my energy, but it's just
Hmm.
a subdued version of that, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
You know,
But
one thing, sorry,
yeah,
I was going to
I
say
love
one of
them.
the things that I heard once, and maybe you can concur or reflect, is no two kids are raised by the same parents.
It is so true. It is so true. We are very different parents with Jazz than we are with Tiago. You are 1,000% correct. And it's so interesting because I do struggle with that a little bit. And I struggle with the fact that why are we so different with them, right? As a psychology major, I think about should we be different? Should we be the same parents? But to your point, I think you're supposed to give kids what they need, and every child is
Right.
different. So they will need different things from you as a parent. They will challenge you in different ways as a parent. So that's a pretty bang on comment. I haven't
Yeah.
said it before, but I might use it.
I might find the article and send it to you. They were saying that part of it is also because um, parents, like first child, might be
Yes,
parents like early, they just got married. They're trying to figure out their
exactly. A very
relationship.
different
They might be in a
stage.
different
Yes,
emotion, financial stage. They may not have a home,
yes,
so there's a lot of more struggle. Like it depends,
yes,
whatever. And
yes.
then
So
second
true.
child is like more established, both parents are working.
Exactly.
They got through, they understand parenting a little bit better, so they're not as
Exactly.
nervous. Yeah.
Exactly. The
And then
second
third
child
child,
can
and
do
then
whatever
yeah,
they
and just
want. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
So true.
I can see that. I was like,
Yeah.
took me a while. So really what I so impressed. One, the day you said to me, I can't remember where we were because I remember we were in person
Yeah. We were
and
out at a family function of some kind.
something, and you said
Yeah.
you were going to climb Kilimanjaro, and I think it was September of 2023, around that time.
Yes.
And I think it was about 9 months away, 9 or
Yeah.
10 months
Hmm.
away. And, or maybe, I don't know if you had a full year, but I was like, oh, I want to do it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
next thing I know,
Next thing you know, you're
I
seeing
saw
pictures of
your,
me
I
on
saw
my.
your mount on Facebook. She had summoned it. It was like, and I was still on the ground in Toronto.
You're like, what? What's happening? What's happening right
So
now?
I just, maybe you can, I'll ask you like this, you made this decision. First of all, you made a decision to climb a mountain. Um, and like, how did that even start?
So how did that start? I belong to this group of ladies in Stouffville. We do lots of social and so forth things together. One of these ladies had basically put the idea out to the group. She said at one of the events that we were at that she was going to coordinate a climb of Mount Kilimanjaro. To be honest, I mean, I wasn't perked up right away. I mean, yeah, okay, I've heard Mount Kilimanjaro, blah, 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 blah. But I wasn't perked up right away. But then she sent the information and we had this actual, an introductory meeting where we talked about it. And then I actually thought, this is something that I would love to do, right?
Mhm.
That adventurous, spontaneous, fly by the seat of her pants, Heather, drank the
Mhm.
Kool-Aid, and I was definitely, I was locked in. I don't know that I thought about what that actually meant at the
Yeah, yeah.
time, but I was locked in. Like I knew that it was going to be challenging. I knew this was kind of a once in a lifetime experience. And yeah, I just made the decision.
So before we get to, sort of what unfolded during the actual climb, to what you just said, like you don't know if you really thought it through. So
Yeah.
on the other side of the experience, had you known all that you had to endure, or
Hmm.
could have been like probably also you recognize some of the dangers of doing this. Had you
Hmm.
known all
Hmm.
of that up front, different
Hmm.
decision, same decision.
Same decision.
Okay.
Kind of like
Okay.
getting married.
Okay.
Same
Well,
decision.
I don't know. Got married 22 years ago. No one really talked about the marriage itself. Everyone talked about the wedding.
Well, fair enough. And I would actually, I think that's a perfect analogy. Everybody talked about how great it was to summit and how exciting and exhilarating that felt.
But
Nobody
the
really
but the
talked about
actual
all the
jour-
drama all the way
and the
up,
journey,
right?
right,
Yeah.
right, right.
So
Yeah,
had I known all of that, I would have still done it. What would have
yeah.
been different is that I would have been better prepared to
Okay.
navigate some of those things as they came up.
Okay, so let's start to walk through this journey. So
Yes, literally.
I know that it was physical, I know that it was mental, and I know that it was resilience. And you must have understood some of that at some level.
Yes, yeah, for
So
sure, for sure.
what did the prep look like?
So the prep looked like, and the folks who were organizing it gave you lots of, here's some things that you need to try and do over the course of the next 9 to 12 months, right? So the walking, lots and lots and lots of walking, hiking with a 10 to 15 pound backpack on, lots of hills, drinking lots of water, like all of those things to start to get your body into at least a better place physically. Like I'll be honest, like you don't have to be an elite athlete. There isn't that.
Oh,
But
really?
you do have to be in good physical shape.
Shit. Okay,
So
okay.
when people it's not an elite athlete climb. I mean, it's not Everest. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mm-hmm.
but it is, you do have to be in good physical shape. You have to be
Mm-hmm.
in decent shape. Like you can't go from just laying around playing video games for 9 months to climbing Mount Kilimanjaro. If people do
Mm-hmm.
that, well then maybe they're 17 or 18-year-olds who, your body does what your body does at
Mm-hmm.
that age. But for the average person, I think you have to be in decent physical shape. So it was mainly walking, it was lots of drinking of water, it was carrying weights, some lightweight training, muscle conditioning, and then altitude training if you could
Mm-hmm.
do that as well. And that
Mm-hmm.
was just to help acclimatize your body to the fact that you would be asked to do these very physical tasks in less and with less and less and less oxygen.
Mm-hmm. And you
Yeah.
said that so in terms of the preparation, let's forget about what you have to bring, but like in
Mm-hmm.
prepping for the
Mm-hmm.
climb,
Mm-hmm.
knowing what you know or
Mm-hmm.
knowing what you had to do, what else would you have done?
I think the preparation, honestly, the physical preparation was adequate. Like
Oh,
that,
okay.
that was enough. Like it
Okay.
wasn't like nobody, I think that stuff they gave you, yeah, that was good.
You were ready.
Yeah,
Okay.
you were ready. You were
Okay.
prepared. You were ready.
Okay. So you
Mhm.
got ready, you knew everything you needed to do. You get on that plane, you fly out.
Yes. And it's fantastic. I land in Tanzania, which, it is not my first trip to Africa. I love, love, love Africa. And although I wasn't born in Africa and, maybe my ancestors were, and I always feel like I
Mm,
am coming home. Like
mm,
there's just something very cool. And I feel this way too when I go to some places in the Caribbean, but there's something very fantastic about getting off
hmm.
the plane and everybody that's around me looks like me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And, the people behind the counter look like me.
Yeah, yeah,
And the
yeah,
people flying the plane look like me. Like there is just something pretty cool about that. And I just
yeah.
love, love, love that. And I have only experienced that in parts of Africa and the Caribbean.
Hmm.
All that to say, we landed, it was fabulous. You head over to quote unquote, there's a hotel that you stay at for about 3 days because they ask you to get there about 3 days before you start climbing so that even at the base, you can start getting used to the altitude change.
Hmm.
And they ask you to do some walking and, some physical stuff while you're getting acclimatized. And
Hmm.
then truly, you drive over to the mountain and
Is it far? Like, is it far
it's
out
not
in the?
it's not that far.
Okay,
It's 45 minutes.
okay, okay,
45
okay.
minutes
Hmm.
maybe. And that's the thing, right? Because I kept thinking to myself, why can't we see it from here? It can't be that
Oh,
far, right? But you drive and as you get closer, then you start to
start to see.
realize,
It's like
and then
Banff. It's
you're
like
looking
Banff.
at it and
Yeah,
you're like,
yeah,
damn,
yeah.
it's tall, right? So that's when it starts to kind of sink in what you're actually
Hmm.
doing. This isn't a vacation.
Yeah. And
This
when you
is
arrive, can you see
yeah.
there's some people already climbing? Because I'm assuming
No,
there's
you
people
you
climbing
wouldn't be
over.
able to see them. Oh, when you
No.
arrive
Yeah.
at the mountain itself, no,
Yeah.
still can't see them.
You still
No.
can't see. Okay.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
No.
So
Yeah.
you get
You
to the
really
you get to
can't
the
see, you
base.
can't see people until honestly you are very, very close to the top. That's when you can see other people that are up higher. But up
Oh,
until
wow.
that point you can. And I don't know if that sounds weird, but it's just kind of the way it works.
You move around
Yeah.
the mountain. Okay.
Yeah, you're moving
Because you don't
around.
climb straight up, right? You climb
No,
yeah,
you're
yeah,
going,
yeah.
like, so it's 5 days up, which also sounds like a lot. So it took us 5 days to get to the top, and then it's 2 days down.
And is there a path?
Yes, yes. So there is, for the most part, a couple of different paths, right? That they can
Mm,
take
mm,
different groups on. And so that's what happens sometimes. There's not so many paths. So sometimes you get a little break because there's a backup, like there's a bit of a traffic jam.
mhm,
And then what I think was most you have I mean, some people call them Sherpas, but you have guides who carry the big things up the mountain, not your backpack,
mhm,
but the big
mhm,
things, like where you're going to sleep, the tents,
mhm,
all of that
mhm.
kind of stuff, the cooking. So the fact that some of them are in flip-flops, some of them are in slides, they are in, you went and purchased, $200 hiking shoes because, you have to be safe. But the fact that these folks are able to, like, it's quite amazing. There's nothing, I have never experienced anything like that before. I haven't
Wow.
experienced anything like that.
And,
I'm
and so
huffing
it's
and puffing, and they're climbing a mountain
like
with
it's
like
like
a
it's
fridge on
nothing.
their back in
And
slide.
is it so it's paths all the way, or do you actually have to climb?
It's paths for almost all of it. There is two parts where you have to kind of do a bit of a scaling thing,
Yeah.
but that's
Was that
it's not
scary?
bad. It's a little scary. Yeah, that part's a little scary. And so for that was one of the things where I was like, okay, I didn't know this would actually be part of it. Okay, what are we doing here? Yeah. So there were a couple of times like that where I was like, okay, it wasn't just walking. But they help you. It is very safe. You are well looked after. You're very well
Can you
looked after.
climb? Can you fall off the cliff, like the mountain? Like there's no rails
No. Well, I mean,
because you said it was narrow.
yeah,
Like,
you could at a couple
but
of points where it is pretty narrow,
yeah,
or you're closer to the side, but
yeah.
that's just, that would be somebody being
Yeah,
really
yeah, that's
responsible.
okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you start off in shorts, I'm assuming.
Yes, yes. And that's the cool part. You start off in shorts and you end up
In
wearing
winter.
everything that you own. Because it is freezing. And that's the other part I think I didn't completely understand, like how cold it was going to be
Hmm.
as you got closer to the top of the mountain. Like
And
there's
was there a lot
this,
of talking in a group as you climb? Like,
yes, yes.
okay,
There's
because you're
talking, there's laughing.
okay.
Your guides are truly, I think, what makes or breaks it. Like they would sing to us. Um, it was pretty incredible. And like even when we were what we called summit night, like you
Hmm.
basically we went to bed at like 6 or 7, not even 6 or 7, 8 or 9 that night.
Hmm.
And they woke us up around 1 in the morning to
Hmm.
leave to go because they try to get you to the summit where you were going to see the sunset or whatever,
Mm.
right? There's a lot of that kind of stuff going on. But even that, like you're exhausted. They wake you up in the middle of the night to get you started again. And so to wake us up, they sang this song to wake us up. Yeah,
That's
how do you
beautiful. And they probably have beautiful
it was
voices.
beautiful. It was amazing. Like you almost, you tear up, you get very emotional because you
Yeah,
also know
yeah,
you're close, right? You know you're
yeah,
close. As
yeah,
exhausted as you are, you're digging deep, and here are these folks who are probably just as exhausted as you are,
yeah,
but
yeah.
they're singing and doing everything they can to motivate you to get to the top.
Did you have any bad moments? Or you maintained a pretty even?
It was pretty even. I didn't have, like, when I watched some of the people around me, the altitude sickness is
Mm,
terrible.
hmm.
But I was pretty fortunate, and they did say that a lot of that it's genetic. Like everybody's body's different, right? Like
Mm,
isn't there's not a lot. I mean, yes, you can do the altitude training, but there isn't a lot that you can really do.
hmm. And what does Like, what is
So
altitude
you're
sickness?
gonna it's almost where you're drunk.
Oh,
Like
wow.
you're gonna get really sick. You're gonna have a headache. You're gonna vomit.
Hold
You're
on, hold on.
disoriented. You're sluggish. Like all of
Your
these
dog's
things can
upset about
come.
something.
I like honestly, there's somebody who's living their best life. Let me tell you, not a complaint in the world. I think somebody must be delivering something.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's altitude sickness. So I didn't really have that. And there were 22 of us, and 10 of us got all the way to the top.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah, so 12 people did not for various reasons.
Because of that,
Altitude
or
sickness,
yeah,
and they, as you get to each level, they do there's a
a
doctor
check.
who does a little
Mhm.
check-in. They check your heart, all the stuff, right? All your vitals. And if there's anything that's coming in really high or really low, they can make a decision at that point to send you back down.
Wow.
Yeah, because they're responsible, right? They don't
Yeah,
want you
yeah, yeah.
getting sick, having a heart attack, whatever that looks like.
And considering that this is your group, did you get to talk to any of them? Like, you've obviously spoken to some of them since you've been back about what that felt like.
Yeah, and I mean, for a lot of them, they were just happy that they got where they got,
Mm,
and that was an accomplishment.
mm-hmm,
A couple of them are going back
mm,
with like a family member or another friend to
mm-hmm,
try it again. Because to
mm-hmm.
your point, like now I kind of know what to expect. Maybe I can push through the altitude sickness this time. So
Yeah.
it's a mixed bag in terms of the folks that one person contracted what seemed like just a really horrific like bronchitis or something like that. So they also wouldn't let her stay because she might make other people sick.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense.
So she said she was going back
Mm-hmm.
because were it not for the cold, thought that she
Yeah, she would have
yeah,
completed. Yeah. So talk to me a little bit about summit night
some
and knowing that
yes.
you were getting to the end of this really big life accomplishment.
Yes. So summit night was interesting because as I said, they wake you up at, this unearthly hour, and that's, like I said, for the first time, where as you're kind of at the base of summit, you can see other people that are closer. And even though you can see them and they don't seem that far away, as you're walking, you realize there's still a lot to walk. Like there's still another 5 or 6 hours of walking here, right? It's a little daunting, but that was the one part of the climb where I started feeling the most fatigued. Like I was
Mm,
really
hmm
starting to feel tired.
hmm
So you get to what they call the first summit,
hmm
and then they tell you that technically in the books, this is considered summiting.
mm,
But there is the top of the mountain, which is the peak of the mountain. And if you go there, that is, you can tell people you went to the highest possible point of Mount Kilimanjaro. So nobody, like, I'm not going to go that far and
and
then,
not go
oh,
and do
okay,
the
well, that's
rest.
not right. So when I said to you that 10 of us, there of the 10, four decided that they weren't going any further.
Okay.
So that was their summit,
Okay.
and then six of us went on to the very,
Wow.
very top. So it was actually myself and this other young woman who were the first to get to, because everybody's walking at different
At
paces.
different paces. Yeah. Yeah.
You're kind of done, right?
Mhm.
And they only allow you to be in that altitude for a limited period of time, because as people who aren't used to that, you have to kind of get out of that quickly. So you get
Okay.
to the top, the very, very top, you take some pictures, you do your whole thing. But I basically went up there and I just took that time by myself and I had a conversation with God
Yeah.
about, getting to the top of this mountain, what that means to me, how that's made me feel, and the fact that I can't go back down this mountain and then do everything in my life the way that I was doing it before. Like I've got
Oh,
to change something. Otherwise, this
yeah.
time didn't mean anything.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was,
Wow.
it was very emotional. It's very emotional.
Oh gosh. And so I have these rapid fires, but before I do, I just have one more question to ask you. And so to that point, to the Heather that came back or came, evolved from the mountain,
Mm-hmm.
what have you learned? Like, what has been the gifting in you?
Well, it goes back to one of the comments I made before. And I think I had started to feel this way before I went on the mountain. But by the time I got back down, it was like, this is Heather. This is who I am. Take it or leave it. And not to suggest that I did this a lot before, but I'm not apologizing for what you consider my shortcomings to be. I'm not apologizing for not quite meeting the mark, not apologizing, for all the things that we typically apologize for, especially as
Mm-hmm.
women,
Mm-hmm.
to our partners, to our children, to our colleagues, to our friends.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, just, really just being full. And I've always been fairly confident, but I think now it's at that next level.
You're just fully
And
empowered in your skin.
yeah, fully empowered, absolutely in that skin. And just, stop making excuses. Like I challenge other people to, how do we get to
Mm-hmm.
yes? Well, I'm trying to get to my own yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Hmm.
I have another thing to ask you. So after this podcast is done. So I'm gonna
Yes.
take you through some rapid thrivers.
Okay.
When you think about someone who inspires you, who comes first to mind?
My mother.
Mm,
Yeah. Yeah. She's still alive, and I know that not everybody still has their mom. So I appreciate and will cherish all the time I have with her. But raised by a single mother, and I think I get my grit from her, my
mhm.
determination, my, pulling it all together. Yeah.
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 What is a daily activity that helps you with your thrive?
Daily activity. I do, I'm a big fan of, talking to myself in the mirror. I feel like I'm
Okay.
in my own best company.
Yeah,
I really do.
I can see that. I can see that. I do the self-talk thing too every single
Love
day.
it. Love it. Like I
Yeah,
talk to
yeah,
myself after I brush my teeth,
yeah. I open up my camera and I have a
right?
self-talk group in Facebook and I talk to
Right?
myself. I love it. Yeah,
Exactly. It's so funny
yeah.
because one of my children was like, "Why do you talk to yourself?" Like my daughter's
No,
like, "Who are you talking to?" I'm like, "Myself."
and I always say the more you talk to yourself, the more you give the language to the world to speak to you, right? Like I
Right?
recognize you do influence that. Yeah. What is a book that's helped you with your thrive
It's a book that helps me with my thrive. Oh, a good one. Oh my goodness. I'm trying to think of what I've read recently because I'm
or a
reading a lot of
podcast? Mm,
stuff. A book. Well, I just started, I mean, and only because it's top of mind, but The Anxious Generation.
mm,
So it's talking about the fact that this generation, so not us, but
mm,
these
mhm,
younger folks are highly, highly, highly
mm.
anxious. And so, yeah, just trying to figure that out a little bit. Like, why are
Yeah.
they so
Yeah.
anxious?
Why are they so anxious? Yeah. Let me know. What
Yeah,
is an app?
yeah.
What is an app on your phone that helps you with your thrive?
Can I put my phone to help me? Maybe just my Fitbit right now,
Hmm.
just because it sends me those messages and reminds me that I've been
To
sitting
do
too
something.
long and
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
time to do
And to
something.
move.
And
Okay,
yeah,
okay,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. Keeping it old school,
Keeping
not
it
getting
all.
fancy. Yeah,
I remember one time at dance, that was like my period app, man. That app
right?
is pretty awesome, man.
Listen,
What
these
is
apps are a hot mess.
what is one misconception that people have of you as they see you navigating this, this world in true Heather fashion?
Well, somebody told me the other day that they thought I had a perfect life.
Mm,
And I thought that was fascinating because my life is far from perfect.
mm,
I have a family that I love very much. I enjoy my work and I feel like I still have lots of good work to do. I'm
mm,
healthy. So I take none of those things for granted, but I am
mm.
certainly not perfect and my life is not perfect. So I
Yeah.
resented that. But it's interesting
Really?
that people, I don't know, I feel like, I don't know. I did resent it a little bit because I don't know.
Did you ask them what they saw?
They saw perfection apparently.
And what?
I don't I so I don't know. Should I not have should I not have been resented? Like maybe I should have seen it
I
as a
would have.
compliment.
So back to the legacy,
Hmm.
you have to ask people, what is it that you see? That's
Right.
some of that is legacy.
Yeah. Fair enough. Fair
They're
enough.
seeing a way you live.
Right.
And I get it. I think I actually get it because you're like, oh my God, that's not what I'm trying to present.
Right. Well, exactly. So I was a little thrown because I was like,
But I
oh,
also, but one of my mantras, or one of my mantras in the morning when I speak to myself, today's a great day. I'm having
mhm.
fun today. I bring joy to
Yes.
others. I bring light with me wherever I go. I'm a positive influence on the world and all is well. And most people that will come in contact with me are getting that energy, that
That,
spirit.
yes, a
And
thousand
so, yeah,
percent.
to every people, they're not thinking, oh, well, she's miserable and her life must really suck. No, they're like, she's pouring energy out into the world. She was having no care in life. But it doesn't,
Right.
but to the people that I know well,
Yes.
I can share, and I do. I mean, I will share. I share that I'm amazing and I'm
Mhm.
also experiencing some challenges
Right.
in life. The
Yeah,
two are not,
fair.
I think what happens is a lot of people put them, like, mix them together, which is why that
Together.
person
Yeah.
will look at you being amazing and think that you
Right.
have this great life versus
Right. I
knowing that
see
the
what you're
two can
saying.
actually be equally, like,
Right.
that's where I
Fair
say,
enough.
I want to
Fair
ask, what
enough.
is it that you see?
Yeah. No,
Because
that's a
maybe
good
it's just that
question.
conversation
And
that
I
can
think
help
I
them
will ask
say,
that more.
yeah, separate,
Yeah.
separate. Like, what do you see? And you could be amazing and also going through a really big challenge in your life.
Challenge. Yeah.
The two
Agreed.
could be true, and the two could live in the same space. Ah, Heather, I know you're not. First of all, can you show us your medal? Because I see it
Oh,
around your neck.
yes, yes,
Yes.
yes. So this is, oh, I don't know if it's
Yeah.
glittery there, but it's the
Nice.
back says yes we can.
Yes, we
And
can.
one of that was one of the mantras on the mountain, right? Like you can do hard things. You
Hmm.
can do hard things. So as we think about that self-talk and
There's a book, eh? I have it. Well, it's by Steve Magnus, Do Hard Things. I have to read it. I have to
right?
finish. Yeah, my
So
niece got it for
that
me.
was a big part of, and that was, you asked if we talked, and that was sometimes that was what it was, just encouraging the person in front of you, knowing that, their arm was sore, carrying their backpack,
Mm, mm,
rubbing their back.
mm.
I had somebody and not glamorous, but started
Yeah.
vomiting, right?
Ooh.
It's yeah.
I didn't even ask you how many days was this a climb?
So yeah, 5 days up, 2 days down.
Wow,
So
seven
seven in
days, eh?
total.
That's
And
a
then
lot.
we
A
went to
lot
a
of
few of us went
walking.
to Tanzania after. Trust me, I don't even know how many thousand steps.
I c-
They did, somebody tracked it, so it's a lot. It's a lot. And it's
wow.
19,341 feet. So
Wow.
imagine. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. Crazy.
So, where do we find more of you? I don't know if yeah, you do social media. So, where do we?
Well, I'm gonna have to start doing social media, Ink. And that was the other thing. Like I came down this mountain and I'm like, okay, so what is it? What's still missing? And I think you and I talked a little bit about it.
Mm-hmm.
I just started, I want to write. Like I know I want to
Mm-hmm.
write a book. I know.
Mm-hmm.
So rather than procrastinating about all the things that are getting in the way, I've, taken advice, great advice, fantastic advice from you, and really just starting that journey. So I think
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of next. And all jokes aside, my daughter got me thinking that I really do need to be doing something more on social media. I'm just not sure what that
Yeah,
is.
you're not sure.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Well, you have a
Hmm.
lot of
Hmm.
leadership, a lot of experience, and sometimes it's just sharing your experience, sharing your thoughts.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
how it started for
Yeah.
me. So,
Right.
as a parting question,
Yes.
and I think maybe you've answered it, but still want to ask it in its full. What does it mean to you to be empowered in my skin?
What does that mean to me? That means, honestly, creating space for other women, other girls, other vulnerable people to be their best selves. That I'm
Mm,
creating that space, I'm creating those opportunities and helping them get there. Because when I'm doing that, I feel like that's
yeah,
that's my biggest, that's my joy, that's my thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I really love that. I really love that.
Oh, thank you, Heather. Thank you for being Heather, right?
Well,
And
thank you,
just being such
Ink.
a force in my life and light in my life. And so grateful for your consistent. That's something I never ever said. Consistent friendship. There was a period of time where we didn't talk for a
Talk
while.
all, yeah.
I picked up the phone, I called you. It was just like we just spoke,
Just, yeah, like we
right? And
never, yeah.
I've never, it has been the same kind of greeting, the same kind of love, instant. Like,
Yes,
I
yes.
love that. I love that kind of
Me too. Me
consistency.
too. And I
Yes.
was actually saying that to somebody the other day. I think I was actually saying that to my husband.
Mm,
That that's actually one of the things, because I told him I was
mm,
coming on the show. But that's one of the things I love about our friendship,
mm.
that space and time don't matter.
Yeah, yeah.
And we have a friendship that is separate from all the other stuff. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah, so
I love it.
I love that.
I love you. And to all of my guests out there, I don't know about you. I still do want to climb Kilimanjaro.
Listen, I say do it. I can certainly give you some tips and trips.
Okay. And yes, so go and do something adventurous. I definitely like that whole aspect that yes, you can and do hard things. And Heather, thank you so much for sharing your story. I'm sure you've powered many for a really, really long time.
Thank you, Ink.
And to everyone that's listening, this is where I say, we're out. See ya. Bye-bye. There you have it. I trust that you're feeling more empowered in your skin. And as the late Dr. Maya Angelou says, when you get, you give, when you learn, you teach. So it would mean so much for us at EIMS if you share this episode and tag us or teach an insight that you learned from today's episode on your socials and tag us. And remember to go over onto iTunes and leave us a review or follow us on socials at Empowered in My Skin. But most importantly, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode.